Today in this video, I'm going to talk about these 3 e-bikes that are behind me and what I like about each one of them and choose which one to me is my favorite. The first bike we're going to talk about is this Nomad 1 from Velotric. 750 watt motor, 26-inch tires. The second bike we're going to talk about is this Ariel Rider X-Class 52 volt, 20-inch tires. And the last bike we're going to talk about is this Vanpowers Manidae, 26-inch tires and a 750 watt motor. I forgot to mention that one has a 1,000 watt motor. So we got 2 with 750 watt motors, 1 with a 1,000 watt motor. They're all 4-inch wide fat tire bikes, and they all have lots of power, and they're all well suited for different little kind of rides that you might want to go on. The first bike I want to talk about is this Vanpowers Manidae. It's a 750 watt motor. It's got a 14 amp hour battery, 26-inch tires by 4-inch. They're fat tire bike. They have rotor disc brakes, 8-speed derailleur. They have a LED readout, headlight in the front, tail light in the back, all wired into the bike. One thing that this bike has is cable pull brakes. This is the only one in this lineup that has cable pull rotor brakes. And then let's see, what else do we got? Oh, this is the only bike in this lineup that also came with the cargo rack on it. So that's a plus about this one. This bike is the Ariel Rider 52 volt X-Class. This is the bike that I've owned the longest and I've put the most amount of miles on. As you can see, it's very dirty, but it's got a 1,000 watt rear hub motor. It's got a 7-speed derailleur transmission. It's got a 18 amp hour battery that is integrated into the frame, a small LCD readout, hydraulic disc brakes, and it also has a twist throttle on the right hand. The other 2 bikes have a thumb throttle on the left hand, which is a little bit different. But this is the smallest bike in the lineup with the 20-inch tires, but they're still 4-inch wide, and you're talking about still being a fat tire bike that's pretty capable of getting through almost anything. Another thing that this has that the other ones don't, it has the inverted forks on the front end that is similar to what you would see on a modern dirt bike. The inverted forks offer a little bit more nimble reaction in the suspension, and it works really great. Rotor disc brakes, hydraulic, and yeah, that's about all that has to go with this. Oh, one more thing about this bike, it has pegs that come with the bike, so you can have a passenger on the back side of the bike riding along with you. The other bikes don't have that, so that's a big bonus for this bike as well. You can also get a add-on seat cushion for this back portion, or add a cargo rack if you'd like. One thing about this bike is that it's a real head turner, and everybody compliments the massive headlight. It's kind of like a cafe style racer or a bobber type of chopper, and this headlight is fantastic. It's nice and bright, casts a lot of light out, and the look of this bike is really just cool and sporty, and everybody compliments this bike all the time. And the last bike that I want to talk about in this lineup is the Velotric Nomad 1. This bike is a 26-inch tire bike by 4-inch, so it's wide tire, fat tire bike. It's got a 750 watt hub motor. It has got a 8-speed derailleur, just like the other 26-inch Vanpowers bike. And it has the integrated battery into the frame, and on all of these bikes you can unlock the battery, pull it out of the frame, take it inside and charge anywhere you want. You don't have to have the whole bike with you to charge, but on all 3 of these bikes you can charge in place or take the battery out and charge on the go. It's got a big LCD readout, backlit display, and 5 power assist levels. In just a moment, we'll go through all of the features of all of these bikes. This one also does have hydraulic disc brakes with fluid in there and a headlight, but no taillight, surprisingly. Has no taillight on the back. Another thing that this has that's really nice is these big full fenders that cover pretty much half of the tire, The front one's a little bit smaller, but that really cuts down on a lot of mud splashing up onto your back and getting you wet and keeping the bike clean. This one has the biggest fenders out of all three. It does have the fully functional front suspension that is adjustable with the firmness and the shock absorption. So one thing that's featured on all three of these bikes in this lineup is a front suspension, and they're all pretty much the same sort of design, a triple tree style front end. But this one, the Ariel Rider X Class 52 volt, it also has a spring rear end as well that is adjustable for both shock absorption and your rebound rate. So this one has the most suspension out of all of the bikes. I feel like the X Class, it has the best performance out of all three of these bikes, but it also does have the highest price tag out of all of these bikes as well. I believe at the time that I got this bike, the price was $2,400. So it is a pretty high price tag, but for what you get on this bike, you do get the value out of it for that price. This is our second highest priced bike in this lineup. This is the Vanpowers Manidae. It retails for about $2,000 at the time that I got this bike. This bike has only a front suspension, a rigid rear end, but with these big 26-inch tires, it kind of compensates for the lack of a rear suspension on it. I don't know if it's really necessary. The rear suspension on that bike doesn't really move all that much, and this one is very comfortable to ride as well. The thing that this really excels at, to me, is this is the most rideable bike out of all of them. If you want to compare this to like a regular pedal style bike, I believe this bike has got the others beat. If you want exercise, you know, the other ones are not quite as comfortable to pedal. This one is really like a mountain bike. I could see how this one would do really well in like a downhill mountain bike type of experience. A lot of downhill bike riders prefer certain types of bikes. The way the handlebar is set up with the straight style, the long travel front end, this is the longest travel of all of them on a front end. And it just feels like the most like a real mountain bike would feel. You could turn the power off and pedal this bike and get a great exercise. And I just think that out of all of them, this is like the most sporty bike, the most rideable, just functional bike out of all three of them. If you're looking for something to pedal and get some good exercise, but also have that electric backup if you want to really go to the distance and go for a super long ride, you can do it all on this bike. The Velotric Nomad 1 is the lowest priced bike out of all three of these. This retails for about $1,500 at the time that I got this bike. And I think for value, this is the lowest priced bike. You get a really, really quality e-bike for a pretty low entry level price. Out of all three of the bikes in this lineup, the Velotric Nomad 1 to me is the most comfortable bike to ride out of all three. It may not be the sportiest, it may not be the most power as far as acceleration goes, but if you want a comfortable ride, this is the one for me. It has a very similar feel to like what you would have in a beach cruiser or something like that. Very relaxed riding position. It doesn't take being hunched over the handlebars. It doesn't take a lot of conscious effort to stay up on this bike. It's very comfortable and it's super just sleek and nice to ride. It does a good job pedaling. If you do want exercise, you can definitely pedal on this bike and get a good amount of exercise, and it is comfortable to ride in that way. But to me, the ride position does feel a little bit more similar to like a beach cruiser rather than a downhill mountain bike would be. This bike has the braze-on attachment points on the back, so you can add on a cargo rack on the back. It also has them on the front. You can put a basket on the front and the back, and you can carry a good amount of gear with you if you're going on any kind of long ride with this. So this bike to me is by far the most comfortable out of all three bikes to ride, just in a very leisure position and just being relaxed with your ride. The point of this video is to go through each one of these bikes, tell you the price point, some of its features, and what I feel like they're best suited for. But ultimately, we have to choose a winner, and which of these e-bikes is my absolute favorite. And my absolute favorite one out of all three of these is the Ariel Rider X-Class 52 volt This thing is a rocket ship. It is the fastest out of all three of these bikes with a 33-mile-an-hour top speed, a 1,000-watt hub motor. The other two are 750 watt, and this one, it just rockets past every other e-bike that I've encountered out here camping in the desert and among friends. This one always turns the most heads. I feel like just the build quality is the best out of all three bikes, and I just can't say enough about the X-Class 52 volt. It is awesome. The range on this bike is great. Between charges, I think we get a little bit more range out of this one compared to the others, and it may not be the best for actually pedaling and getting exercise, but this thing is like riding a motorcycle. With the twist throttle, you don't need to pedal. Who cares about pedaling? This thing leaves all the other e-bikes in the dust. If I was living in a city and I was having to go to work and back, this would be the ultimate commuter bike. You could carry gear in a cargo rack on the back. You could add one to the front. They also make a tank bag for it, but you can get easily 30 miles out of a single ride on a charge and get to work, plug in the battery while you're working, and get home, all for really no cost at all. This is the highest price out of all of the bikes, but it really shows. The performance, the feel of the bike, it is very comfortable with this motorcycle style seat. This bike just wins. I'm sorry to say. I like it. It's my favorite one. This thing is awesome. The ride position of this bike is a lot like a sport bike. You are leaned over the handlebars quite a bit. It has like that sport bike type of feel to it. The distance of the handlebars is pretty narrow when talking about the relationship to like another bike. The handlebars do kind of come out. So this is like the slimmest, most compact, and just sporty bike ride of them all. So it's a lot of fun. All right, so that does it for my comparison video of these three awesome e-bikes. Any one of them I'm totally happy with. Like I said, they're well suited for different things, but I'm gonna go ahead and ride off on my favorite of them all, the Ariel Rider X-Class. See you guys later.